Welcome to Duke's Finding I&I webinar.
I'm just going to jump right in. The basics here, RDII, or rain derived inflow and infiltration, generally referred to as I&I, and then breaking that down further, both inflow and infiltration separately. Inflow generally refers to a direct source of rainwater entering the sewer system, and infiltration is an indirect and, for the most part, groundwater entering the sewer collection system. The general approach to locating I&I, number one being rarely and really never there's enough budget to locate and remedy all of the I&I. So therefore, the general approach is to isolate a larger area into smaller areas and then determine which of those areas warrant the limited resources, and then deciphering which amounts could be applied into which of those areas. And then number three, the data density, as I'm calling it, or each of the little sub areas are in different colors, but you can see there are 6 black squares. So budget is certainly a big part of this. And then, the overall strategy. So the established industry approaches, I've broken this down into 5, and we're going to focus on 1, 2, and 3 here. Area velocity refers to open channel or gravity flow metering. And then lift stations or pump stations, a great spot to collect data. And then level only, we'll touch on. This is kind of the basics of open channel gravity or area velocity flow metering. There's, looking at the diagram over on the left, it's measuring the flow flowing through the sewer, and the access point is, for the most part, it's a manhole. And you can see that there's a logger and a sensor, and they're connected via a wire. Kind of with the arrow at the top would be data to a cloud. Now, probably as of the past 10, 12 years, most of the hardware available in the market has a built-in cellular modem, so they're pushing data to the cloud almost in real time. And then over on the right, you can see a typical setup where there's a logger. So there's multiple sensor types. The controller is DC powered. It's out in the system. A couple of real life pictures beginning over on the right. You can see this is about I think this was an 18-inch pipe. If you look closely, you kind of see there's a little blue haze there. That's the submerged area velocity sensor, and it's mounted to this metal band. Looking at the picture on the left, you can see a little gray, it looks like a hockey puck. That's the antenna. So I mentioned the cellular modem. So from there, the data gets generated and pushed. As I mentioned, it's in almost real time. So it's online data 24/7. The update frequency is part of the programming. So generally speaking, at Dukes, we program to push data every 3 or 6 hours just to conserve batteries, but it can be programmed to push them every 10 minutes. If you take a quick hard glance at this graph here, you can see 3 spikes, and those spikes are what I&I looks like on a flow meter. These 2 graphs, the one on the top is the same one, and the one on the bottom is from the same study, and it was only like maybe 500 or 700 feet away, but on a different sewer line. So the flow meter with the data on the top, huge reaction, right? And on the bottom, there's absolutely no reaction whatsoever. So you can see the top graph is over here where I have the red 2. The bottom graph is this red 1. You can see that it's on this same pipe. It's actually up here at this yellow star. And flow meter 2 was in this manhole, but the sensor was up in this influent side pipe. The idea is to isolate an area further down into its components, pinpoint and apply resources where it's going to be most effective. So on a basic level, 300,000 extra gallons from this area coming in from the top and none from the left. And these 2 areas in total had about the same amount of pipe in each one. Again, the idea is very basic. It's, hey, this area had a huge reaction, this area had no reaction, so we move forward. So some general characteristics for sewer flow monitoring. Number one is applications can be very challenging. This is a real life scene. That's our field tech here. He has to carry around the laptop. There's a program. He's got the equipment, busy scene. He's got a generator here, a blower, gas monitor, tripod, and he's next to a 4-lane road with construction going on. So number two would be ownership versus service. Rarely does ownership work for a utility that I've seen. Now, there certainly are exceptions, but it takes a big commitment. So number three here, just to touch on the cost, flow data is a relative high cost. We'll talk about level data. That data costs less. And a lot of that is around the requirements for installation and confined space entry requirements for maintenance, of which there could be a lot. Another step in this is determining how long to leave the equipment in one location. And we'll kind of shift gears and get into lift stations. Yeah, most utilities have lift stations. Most utilities are getting some kind of data out, but they don't know the flow value. They may know that the pumps run 30% longer during X rain event, but they have no idea what the flow values are. So the data coming out of a lift station or pump station comes in all shapes and sizes. So to touch on, what we do as Dukes, we offer a turnkey service. It's online in about 30 days. It's maintained with all sensors, all of the alarming programming, help with the data and so forth. And then on the client side, there's no software. It's as simple as it's all web based. If the computer can access google.com, then it can access the data. So, an important part of all of this is the right amount of information needs to get to the right people. In my opinion, no more and no less. All the alarm history is recorded from the very beginning, very easily accessed with a couple of clicks. Again, to stress on the general idea, all of this stuff to the bottom right of this dash line, that's to be provided as a service. There's no where the client can just log in, see the data, do what needs to be done. So we'll talk a little bit about level only measurement. What we offer at Dukes here is we call it micro detection, and we call it street level I&I detection because it's very dense. To note the project size, that's kind of been the center part of the bell curve from what we've done in the past. The study area when we do micro detection is broken up into micro areas. The general idea for micro detection for us, categorize each of the smaller 1,200-foot sections: severe, moderate, fair, and good. It's a quick snapshot, just to, is it over here or is it over there? The it is I&I. And then we do provide number four here, the volumetric flow estimates. It's to say, hey, most of it's over here. This severe area is very heavy, and this one over here is not. So we'll look at what the hardware and a kind of a normal setup would look like. We have lots of different hardware setups. At the end of the day, our goal is to get it to look like it looks over here on this photo on the right, where we're monitoring the flow in the 6 o'clock pipe or the effluent pipe in the manhole, and we're recording it every 15 minutes. In this case, for micro detection, it's a manual measurement. So the project workflow it's quick. So we install the hardware. There's a 60-day data collection period. For people in more arid climates, certainly more attention has to be given towards like when the rain is likely to occur, what time of the year. And we've set up plenty of these in 90 and 120 days and have some contingencies built in for the case of when it does not rain. More times than not, the whole cycle from notice to proceed to report in hand is about 120 days. So it can be very quick. Just to touch on the general methodology here, we're identifying the dry weather characteristics, what the levels were, what's happening, of course, what's happening during wet weather, how much, what changed, where did it change. We determine the differences in each zone. And when I say zone, I mean at the 1,200-foot zone, right? We take all of that data, we dump it into a big calculator. We feel strongly that a set of eyes still has to look at it. At the end, we rank each zone. So looking at results, we produce GIS maps with all of our services. So if somebody wants to print a big roll-up map, we provide that. So you can see it's busy with color. The industry standard, red is the most severe, orange is the moderate, yellow is fair, and green is good, right? From a map perspective, that's kind of what it looks like. So dialing in to the graph there, there's two graphs here. The one on the top is level. The one on the bottom is the estimated flow values. The red is the level, so that's just the level of the sewer. and the blue is the rain. It's inverted, so you can see what's on the y-axis over here on the right. So you can see kind of the January 9th rain event, and you can see one over here. It looks like it's on Christmas. Here at Duke's, we make a very concerted effort to make things very simple and understandable, where it doesn't take a month to read through the report and understand what's going on. So digging into the data table, so you can see the colors, the asset IDs are from the utility, it's the manhole number. The ADWF is the average dry weather flow rate. That's an estimated value. The groundwater infiltration, an estimated value there. The final calculation is the amount of I&I for that specific area in units of how many gallons per day per inch mile of pipe. But that's just a snip of what it looks like. We have an online portal to access all of this data electronically, so it's dynamic and click on the map and so forth. Kind of nearing the end here, we'll touch on alerting, just a simple alerting system. This is our Duke Sewer Alert service, just kind of a overview of what it looks like. The key part of this is that the measurement begins at the bench. The idea at Duke's for us is these systems have got to be reliable. We've got this set up to where reliability is paramount, but what we sacrifice, we're only going to begin measurement at the bench, right? And then as it goes up, it'll measure the level all the way until when it's an overflow. The other big feature to this is the sewer can still be maintained. Operators can run a jetter through this and jet all day long. This is in a protected housing for just that purpose. Sitting behind the hardware, a very sophisticated software set. This is a snip from a graph here. We're talking about I&I, but for alerting purposes, it can be when like, hey, it's a beautiful day outside and yet I'm getting alarms. It could be an O&M issue, right? So it's not all I&I. Just to stress reliability for alerting, reliability is everything. No pops, no drops. And just to kind of throw it out there on the sewer alert, stormwater alert, stormwater is a growing kind of sector of water and sewer. And so this service can certainly be applied in that area. And to sort of wrap this up, we focused on these three areas, the gravity system, flow monitoring, lift station, data mining, monitoring, and then the level only. There's nothing to prevent. And I would say in most cases it's required some sort of mixing and matching. No two systems are the same. So it's usually a discussion, needs to be a discussion to formulate a plan for, kind of for the best approach. With that said, thank you, everybody.